If Donald Trump were a modern-day Henry VIII, the big twist would be that he knew when to stop, at wife number 3. And maybe that's because he finally found his match with Melania. This marriage has been his longest yet, holding strong for over 2 decades. Quite the achievement for him, isn't it?
I was surprised.
And while the two have had their fair share of ups and downs, let's not forget that Melania isn't his first or only wife. So naturally, we're all dying to know, how does she really get along with Trump's ex-wives?
I respect women. I love women. I cherish women.
First up, Ivana Trump, the original Mrs. Trump. She's always claimed she didn't have a problem with Melania, but her dislike for Marla Maples, Donald's second wife, was a whole different story. Marla, as you might recall, is the woman Ivana blamed for ending her marriage.
I don't want to talk about her. She's a showgirl, never achieved anything in her life.
In a 2016 interview with People, Marla confessed she felt sad about the bad blood between her and Ivana. Can't blame her. Who wants to be stuck in a never-ending episode of Real Housewives of New York, right?
He's the father of my child. I do not want to ever speak negative about it.
Ivana, though, did throw some shade Melania's way in the years before she passed in July. She once joked that she might not have been the First Lady of the United States, but she'll always be the first Mrs. Trump.
I don't know what is Melania's problem. She just has to get over it. She's First Lady of America, but I'm First Lady Trump. Excuse me.
Well, all right then. Melania's team shot back, saying Ivana was just trying to sell books during her promo tour for Raising Trump. Ouch.
I don't really care, you know?
So when Ivana passed away, people were buzzing. Would Melania even show up at the funeral? Turns out she did. And sometimes actions speak louder than shady comments.
I think it's fantastic.
Now let's get into Melania's special relationship with Ivanka, Trump's daughter with Ivana. Things were frosty when Trump was in office. Ivanka was trying to play First Lady, while Melania handled Barron's school stuff, leading to some firm boundaries from Melania. Think of it as the White House edition of Game of Thrones, but no dragons, just icy stares.
There's one First Lady, and Melania will be an unbelievable First Lady.
But things might be thawing out. Rumor has it that the Trump family's legal drama is bringing everyone closer together. Who knew court cases could double as family bonding sessions?
The amount of work that we've accomplished in a very short period of time is just remarkable.
Then there's Marla Maples. She and Trump were together from 1993 to 1996, and Melania hasn't really talked much about Donald's ex-wives. However, her appearance at Tiffany Trump's bridal shower may have said it all.
That is our bond, and that is our strength.
Kimberly Guilfoyle, who's engaged to Donald Trump Jr., posted a photo on Instagram where Melania, in a bright yellow gown, cozied up with Marla and the gang. And guess what? No drama in sight.
We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement.
And at Tiffany's wedding, Marla even gave a shout-out to Melania during her speech. She thanked Donald, the beautiful Melania, and the whole family for sticking close to Tiffany. She added that if they all stay strong together, they could help hold the world together. Okay, that might be a stretch, but it seems like there's no bad blood here.
I don't care.
Honestly, hats off to Melania. She could have easily held grudges against the women her husband loved before her, but instead, she's shown respect and grace. And let's be real, navigating the Trump family dynamics is no small feat. If Melania can do that, props to her.
I'm enjoying it.
When you hear President's first wife and mother of his 3 kids, you'd expect a dignified resting place, right? Well, if that president is not Donald Trump, because Ivana, Trump's first wife, is actually buried on his New Jersey golf course. Yep, you heard that right. She's the first person ever laid to rest at Trump National Golf Club Bedminster. The property even had to be consecrated for a Catholic burial. Honestly, who saw that coming?
I don't know what is Melania's problem. She just has to get over it. She's First Lady of America, but I'm First Lady Trump. Excuse me.
Now, why there? People have a few theories. Let's break it down. Theory 1. Trump is just really into northern New Jersey. Maybe he thought Bedminster was the perfect place to lay Ivana to rest. But here's the thing. She had no known special connection to it. Trump bought the property in 2002, long after their divorce, and while they stayed friends, there's no record of Ivana praising the place.
Does it cause trouble, then, do you think, when you call him?
Well, if it would be me in Melania place, I would not really like that the ex-wife is calling my husband. I don't know.
Trump, however, big Bedminster fan. He's actually had his sights set on being buried there for over a decade. Back in 2007, he filed to build a massive stone mausoleum, complete with obelisks, which was deemed a bit too over the top and quickly rejected. Later, he scaled it down to a cemetery proposal, then a smaller family plot with 10 graves right by the first tee. So yes, Ivana's resting place may be part of his grand Bedminster burial plans, whether she would have wanted it or not.
Would you not like to get back together with him?
Nope.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, you would like to get back?
Nope.
Theory 2. It's all about taxes. Yes, really. Turns out, New Jersey gives major tax breaks to landowners with designated cemetery property. Cemetery land is exempt from real estate, business, sales, income, and inheritance taxes. Plus, Trump's team has definitely looked into cemetery tax breaks in the past. There's paperwork from 2016 showing they tried to register another New Jersey property as a nonprofit cemetery. But funny thing is, he's already getting a huge tax cut on Bedminster. By designating it as a farm, because of some mulch trees and yes, 8 goats, Trump's tax bill is down to just $16.31 a year on that land. So tax break or not, he's paying next to nothing on it.
Did you use that $916 million loss to avoid paying personal federal income taxes?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Theory 3. Trump is just keeping it weird. Maybe there's no hidden agenda, just Trump being, well, Trump. When the inevitable crosses his mind, maybe it brings out his strange side. And hey, it's not so uncommon for the super rich to have eccentric burial plans, freezing themselves, rocketing their remains into space, you name it. Why wouldn't Trump pick a golf course?
I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it.
Trump once told the New York Post, "It's never something you like to think about, but it makes sense. This is such beautiful land, and Bedminster is one of the richest places in the country." That was back in 2007. During his first attempt to turn his golf course into a cemetery. Only Trump would see his golf club as the perfect spot for eternal rest, because, of course, in his eyes, it's a prime piece of real estate.
Real estate is good.
Real estate is good.
So, while Ivana's final resting place might surprise many, their story actually began with an old-fashioned, glamorous New York City meet-cute. Donald met Ivana, née Ivana Zelnichkova, in 1976. She was living in Montreal, working as a model and ski instructor after immigrating from Czechoslovakia.
Fantastic years. I was born and raised in Czechoslovakia. I went through training as a skier through the sports.
She ended up in New York City for a modeling gig, and during a dinner with other models, Donald swooped in. He secured the group the best table in the place and joined them. Smooth move, right?
And I turned to my girlfriend and said, I have a good news and bad news. What is the good news? You're going to get a table real fast. What is the bad news? This fellow behind me is going to go and sit with us.
Ivana wrote in her memoir, Raising Trump, "We made polite small talk. No funny stuff at all. He sensed correctly that flirting would not work with me and acted like a gentleman." Imagine that, Donald Trump, a perfect gentleman. Who would have thought?
I think it's fantastic.
Ivana wasn't looking for love. She was casually seeing someone in Montreal. But Donald had other plans. He sent her 100 roses, took her out to fancy dinners, and called her every other day for 3 months. Persistence paid off. By Christmas, Donald asked her to go on vacation. They went to Aspen and had the most romantic time together. On New Year's Eve, Donald told her, "If you don't marry me, you'll ruin your life." Now that's the Trump we know. And despite having known each other for only a few months, Ivana agreed to marry him.
Donald always had a great head on his shoulder, and I saw the potential in him.
They tied the knot on April 9th, 1977 in New York City. And during their honeymoon in Mexico, Ivana became pregnant with their first child. On December 31, 1977, their son Donald Jr. was born. The couple went on to welcome 2 more children, Ivanka in 1981 and Eric in 1984. A picture-perfect marriage, right? But wait.
He did not know how to speak to them in the children way of thinking. So he was able to speak to them only when they came from university, when eventually he was able to speak business with them.
Yeah.
You know, but otherwise he really did not know how to handle the kids.
Donald and Ivana weren't just partners in marriage, but also in business. Donald appointed Ivana as the Vice President of Interior Design at his recently acquired Commodore Hotel, which was being converted into the Grand Hyatt Hotel.
We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
Ivana continued to help Donald build his real estate empire, assisting with the construction of Trump Tower and the Trump Taj Mahal Casino in Atlantic City.
And I was chief executive officer, and casino really did very well. It was the most profitable hotel casino in the United States.
She later became president of the Plaza Hotel. However, their seemingly perfect marriage hit the rocks in 1989 when Ivana discovered Donald's affair with model Marla Maples.
Did you see warning signs?
I really didn't. I really didn't.
It all happened during the family's annual holiday trip to Aspen. Ivana ran into Maples outside a restaurant, with patrons and the rest of the family watching. Ivana wrote, "This young blonde woman approached me out of the blue and said, 'I'm Marla, and I love your husband. Do you?' I said, 'Get lost. I love my husband.' It was unladylike, but I was in shock."
We were actually standing near the restaurant, getting ready to put skis on. And I was standing there like an idiot. And Marla and Ivana were here. And there wasn't shouting, but you could obviously see there was some friction.
Turns out this affair had been going on for years. Donald met Marla Maples at a 1985 celebrity tennis match while he was still married to Ivana. At first, they were just friends, but eventually a romance blossomed, and they kept it under wraps.
I just think the first moment I met him, I had a sense like I'd known him before. I think it was much deeper than just whatever you might feel. We had a sense of like, if you believe in past lives or you don't, it was as if we did know each other.
By the summer of 1989, the couple started getting bold, and Marla was often spotted wherever Donald was. She even moved onto his yacht, the Trump Princess. Imagine that, a secret affair on a yacht named Trump Princess. You can't make this stuff up. A former architect for the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino, Alan Lapidus, revealed in the series Biography: The Trump Dynasty that he acted as Donald's beard when he was dating Marla in Atlantic City, still married to Ivana. The only time we had any personal stuff was when he was going out with Marla Maples. He was still married to Ivana, and I was, as they say, the beard, Alan said. Wow, that's unbelievable.
I think it's ridiculous.
On one occasion, Trump sent a limo for Lapidus and Marla. I picked her up and we went out to dinner, Lapidus recalled. And after dinner, they played a game of limo swap so Marla could meet up with Trump. We went out to the limo, drove a couple blocks, another limo pulled up, and she got out. And there was Donald in the other car, Lapidus said. Sounds like something out of a spy movie.
We're just enjoying each other's company when we can.
The series suggests that Trump gave Ivana a promotion to get her out of Atlantic City. She had been in charge of Trump Castle, but was moved to the Plaza Hotel in New York in May 1988.
If you're in business for yourself, I really think it's a bad idea to put your wife working. I think it's a really bad idea. I think that was the single greatest cause of what happened to my marriage with Ivana.
Jack O'Donnell, who was the president of Trump Plaza Casino at the time, mentioned that it wasn't a very well-kept secret in Atlantic City. Let's face it, when the room service guy goes up to deliver dinner for the two, and Donald Trump is one of the people, the secret doesn't last long. The audacity of Donald Trump to think he could keep things under the radar while practically throwing a parade for his affair. Marla knew Trump was married, but she later admitted she never considered herself a mistress during that time. She said, "Do I wish more than anything that we could have had this relationship after the divorce papers were signed? Absolutely, with all my heart. But it didn't happen that way. Everything had to happen in the way that it did to bring us to where we are now." Sure enough, the truth eventually surfaced, and things came to a head in Aspen in 1989. And Marla's version of their confrontation has some key differences from Ivana's take. She couldn't pronounce my name, but she was asking me if I was Mula or whatever. And she just asked if I was the one who had been loving her husband for years. I didn't want to scream, Maples told Vanity Fair. According to the onlookers, Ivana reportedly yelled, "I have a happy marriage. I'm very happy. Stay away from him. Stay away from us." Less than a year later, Maples reflected, "It was obvious Ivana wasn't happy, and noted that during her relationship with Donald, she constantly told him, "Stay and make it work. Don't give up the marriage, you've got your kids." Poor Ivana.
Do you think unless the two had actually come face to face, you would have confronted that situation?
Well, it's interesting because it's possible that, maybe it would still be going on. I'm not sure.
The affair made headlines, and in March 1990, Ivana officially filed for divorce, resigning from the Trump Organization a few months later.
In my case, it was just so clear, and the trust was broken so badly that I knew that it was just no way it could be paid.
But despite their explosive split, Ivana said they eventually settled into roles as companionable co-parents.
It does take time, and it took me about 2 years to even think about another man. So if I see another man in my life, I die.
They remained friendly over the years, and Ivana attended Donald's presidential inauguration in 2017. Former White House aide Omarosa Manigault Newman even told people that Donald constantly sought Ivana's advice while in office.
He wouldn't be who he is without you.
That's for sure.
Now, let's get back to Marla. The media extensively covered the divorce and Donald and Maples' relationship, and she spent 2 months hiding from photographers, but couldn't escape the headlines. Maples was infamously quoted on the cover of the New York Post as having said, "Best sex I ever had," about her relationship with Donald, which she later denied ever saying.
The Donald was the best sex you'd ever had. Hey, you know he's not the only one who lies to the press.
Maples and Donald continued to date on and off, and in 1993, she became pregnant with their first child. Their daughter Tiffany was born on October 13, which Maples later called the greatest unplanned surprise of all. Despite Donald previously saying he had no plans to get married again, the couple decided to tie the knot shortly after Tiffany's birth.
And we really anticipated getting married and having a baby, not having a baby and getting married.
So why didn't you marry her right away when you found out she was pregnant? Why did you wait?
Indecision.
Donald and Maples married on December 20, 1993, in an extravagant ceremony at the Plaza Hotel. Although Maples wanted a small wedding, the event was attended by 1,000 guests, including Howard Stern, Rosie O'Donnell, and O.J. Simpson. She wore a Carolina Herrera gown and a Harry Winston tiara worth $2 million. Because, nothing says "I do" like a tiara that costs more than most people's houses. The pair remained married for 3 years before separating in May 1997. Maples later explained the split, saying that they differed on how they viewed the world and how they wanted to raise their child.
So I think you always hope in a marriage that you can bring out the best in each other. But after many years, we realized we weren't.
Marla also noted that she was never entirely comfortable with the life of luxury and felt that she was playing a role because it was what the job called for. Oh, sure. Years after their divorce, a juicy tidbit from Donald and Marla Maples' prenup was leaked. Turns out, Marla walked away with just $1 million, plus another $1 million to buy a house. Definitely not the fortune some might think.
And I think $1 million is a lot of money.
No, you don't.
No, I don't, actually.
In fact, Marla later auctioned off her engagement ring and other items to make ends meet, saying, "I laugh when people think I walked away with a fortune." Talk about a not-so-happy ending.
The truth is there's a lot of misconceptions about I walked away a multimillionaire.
But it's not all bad blood. Despite their rocky past, Donald and Marla managed to mend fences. In a 2013 Oprah interview, Marla revealed, "I still love Donald. I love Eric, Ivanka, and Donnie so much." They even managed to share an Easter celebration in April 2023. Who knew divorce could come with a side of friendly get-togethers?
Well, he's the father of my child. I do not want to ever speak negative about it. But do we agree on everything? Absolutely not. We would be married if we still agreed on everything.
But Ivana, who passed away in 2022, clearly wasn't ready to forgive and forget.
I don't want to talk about her. She's a showgirl, never achieved anything in her life.
In her 2017 memoir, Raising Trump, she didn't hold back, saying, "She actively participated in humiliating me in the media and indirectly put my kids at risk for months. I went through hell, and then I was expected to be okay with her being around my children?" Ivana's words reflected the deep hurt and betrayal she felt, a pain that her friends believe she never fully overcame. Well, who could blame Ivana? Despite all these challenges, Ivana always carried herself with grace and dignity. But now, why do you think she was laid to rest on a golf course? And how could her own children let this be their mother's final resting place? Donald Trump is losing one of his closest allies, his daughter Ivanka Trump. After years of standing by his side through business ventures, campaigns, and a turbulent presidency, she's stepping away from the political spotlight for good. In January 2021, for the first time since she was 23, Ivanka packed her bags, left Washington, and walked away from her role in her father's orbit. And she hasn't looked back. In a rare public statement in 2022, she made her feelings clear. I love my father very much. This time around, I am choosing to prioritize my young children and the private life we are creating as a family. I do not plan to be involved in politics. Since then, Ivanka, her husband Jared Kushner, and their 3 kids have been living in Miami, Florida, trying to stay out of the public eye. But let's be real, when you're part of the Trump family, private life only goes so far. Now, this is a big shift for someone who was once one of Donald Trump's closest advisors. During her time in the White House, she took on issues like paid family leave and the child tax credit, which she helped turn into Republican talking points. But while her portfolio was tailored to less controversial causes, she still faced intense backlash. Some blamed her for decisions she had no real control over, and others criticized her for staying silent on hot-button issues. And then there was the personal cost. Ivanka lost friends in her New York social circle and faced scrutiny over her clothing brand, which she eventually shut down because of ethical questions about mixing business and politics. Fast forward to now, and she's charting a totally new course. These days, Ivanka's priorities are her kids, her husband, and her own peace of mind. She told Lex Fridman in a podcast this year, "Politics it's a pretty dark world. There's a lot of darkness, a lot of negativity, and it's just really at odds with what feels good for me as a human being. So for me and my family, it feels right to not participate." But here's the twist. Just because Ivanka's out of the spotlight doesn't mean she's out of the game. Sources say she still talks to her dad regularly and offers advice, just behind the scenes now. Don't expect public speeches or West Wing meetings this time around. And Jared Kushner? He's also taking a step back from formal politics, but he's still a key player when it comes to Middle East diplomacy. Plus, he's got business interests in the region, so don't think he's sitting idle. Fun fact, Jared's dad, Charles Kushner, has even been tapped as the US ambassador to France. Talk about keeping it in the family. But back to Ivanka. Losing her mother, Ivana Trump, in 2022 was a deeply emotional moment for her. She's also been caring for her grandmother, who lives with her in Miami. Add in her husband's health struggles. Jared underwent 2 surgeries for thyroid cancer, and you can see why she's embracing this new chapter. Friends describe her as more grounded and at peace, fully focused on her family. She's thrown herself into new hobbies: surfing, jiu-jitsu, horseback riding, and even motocross biking. It's a far cry from campaign rallies and policy meetings, but it seems to be exactly what she needs. So, with Ivanka stepping away from politics, she's clearly embracing a new chapter focused on family and personal happiness. But one thing that hasn't changed, her rock-solid relationship with Jared Kushner. Let's dive into their story and see how they've built a life full of love, family, and success. Before they became involved in politics during Donald's presidency, Ivanka and Jared were successful in their own right.
The amount of work that we've accomplished in a very short period of time is just remarkable. And that's where our focus is. That's where our priorities.
Ivanka started out as a model before heading off to the University of Pennsylvania and later joining her dad's company. You might also remember her from The Apprentice, where she showed off her business chops as one of the judges. Plus, she even launched her own design brand. What a Renaissance woman.
My father very famously said, if you're going to dream anyway, you might as well dream big.
As for Jared, he's a New Jersey native who became a real estate mogul and the publisher of the New York Observer after graduating from Harvard. A true power couple, right?
The way I look at it is that it's all about accomplishing the objective.
Now let's rewind a bit and talk about how this dynamic duo first got together, because their love story is a pretty sweet one. Ivanka and Jared were both 25 when they were set up by friends for what was supposed to be a business lunch to talk real estate.
When we started dating, I told her that if I wasn't so attracted to her, she'd just be my best friend. And
little did their friends know, they'd end up hitting it off in a whole different way. Ivanka told Vogue in 2015, "They very innocently set us up thinking that our only interest in one another would be transactional." She laughed about it, saying, Whenever we see them, we're like, the best deal we ever made.
So we're very, very proud of that.
Now, before they got engaged, Ivanka made a huge change in her life for love. She converted from Presbyterian to Judaism. Since Jared comes from an Orthodox Jewish family, Ivanka really took her conversion to heart. It wasn't just a formality for her. It was a meaningful commitment that reflected her deep feelings for Jared.
It's one of his acts of love. He brings me coffee every morning in bed while I read the newspapers. And
in an interview with Vogue, Ivanka opened up about how she and Jared are pretty observant when it comes to their faith. They keep kosher and follow the Sabbath, which means no tech from Friday night to Saturday night. Wow, a true digital detox. Ivanka called her conversion to Judaism a very intimate thing for us and said it was such a great life decision. She's found the perfect balance between being modern and traditional. And for her, Judaism has given their family an amazing blueprint for staying connected. Clearly, it was a decision that means a lot to her.
Track record of supporting and advocating for Jewish people and for Israel is unimpeachable.
The couple made it official on October 25, 2009, with a big wedding at the Trump National Golf Club in Bedminster, New Jersey. And of course, Ivanka wore a stunning Vera Wang gown. Oh, what a glamorous event. The guest list included her dad, Donald Trump, and even Regis Philbin, who performed at the reception. Classy, right? A few years later, they started building their family. Their first child, Arabella Rose, was born on July 17, 2011. Then, on October 14, 2013, they welcomed their son, Joseph Frederick. Their youngest son, Theodore James, arrived on March 27, 2016. It's safe to say they've got their hands full.
And it's really fun as a parent to watch them interact with each other.
Ivanka has been open about her experience with motherhood and how she's learned to go with the flow.
With Arabella, I was very nervous, as any first-time mom is, about dropping her, about everything. About will she ever sleep through the night?
Sound familiar to any parents out there? By the time Joseph and Theodore came along, though, she said she had relaxed a lot more.
With Theodore, I'm much more relaxed because I realize this really special moment is so fleeting. So I'm much more present when I'm with him.
When her dad took office in 2017, Ivanka packed up the family and moved to D.C. to support his administration. Both she and Jared stepped into senior advisor roles, even hitting the campaign trail with Donald in 2016 and speaking at the Republican National Convention.
How could somebody successfully win the presidency who had never been engaged in politics? And my father did that, and Jared was instrumental in helping his campaign succeed.
It was a wild ride, but once it wrapped up, they headed for a quieter life in Surfside, Florida, a little town just south of Miami with only 6,000 people, perfect for keeping things low-key.
it's just life. It's just life.
According to a friend of Jared's who spoke to People in April 2022, they're really just settling into normal life and really enjoying it. Ivanka has picked up some new hobbies like surfing, golfing, and tennis. Meanwhile, Jared has been focused on a new entrepreneurial venture.
You know, we were always involved in each other's business and knew what was going on, but working together has given me an even greater appreciation for just how effective she is.
But the best part? They're finally spending more time with their kids.
And I am very vehemently against family separation.
The friend explained, Jared's spending a lot more time with his family because over the last 4 years that was something neither of them could do as much as they wanted to. Jared has even said, the nice thing about Miami is the moment you stop working, you're on vacation. Sounds pretty sweet, right?
I am driven, first and foremost, by my kids and their happiness. So that's always going to be my top priority. And
as for their relationship with Donald, well, it's definitely changed since their days in the White House. According to the same source, they only visit Mar-a-Lago, Donald's Florida home, every few weeks. It's definitely less than in their time in the White House, where they would see him every single day. It seems like they're enjoying this new chapter of their lives, focusing more on family and less on politics.
And you have to figure out how to move all the pieces to make it the life you want to live.
Despite their retreat from the political scene, the couple hasn't entirely escaped the headlines. In February 2023, both Ivanka and Jared were subpoenaed as part of a federal investigation into the January 6th Capitol riots. They had already been questioned by a House committee about that day, which later recommended charges against Donald. But it seems like they're doing their best to move on from that chapter and focus on their life in Florida.
I am not focused on politics. I'm focused on our business.
All in all, it seems like Ivanka and Jared are fully embracing the quieter life, far away from the nonstop hustle of DC politics.
So Theo, what are we doing now?
Finishing the puzzle.
How long have we worked on this for?
3 days, 4 days.
We put a lot of time in?
Yes.
Have we had fun?
Yes.
How does that feel?
Good.
How do we do?
Good.
Wait, let's do the handshake.
They've swapped out campaign rallies for quality family time, and honestly, after the chaos of the last few years, who could blame them? But what do you think? Was it the right move for them to step back from politics and focus on family life? Let us know.